Hello, welcome back to Tesla Myth Bust. I'm your host Buster. This week we're going to talk about the Tesla FSD level being level 2 versus other automakers, some achieving level 3 or level 4 in certain areas. And we're going to talk about the China situation when President Biden has raised the tariffs on many things, especially on EVs, how that's going to affect Tesla. And finally, we're going to talk about a FSD subscription take rate when the trial period ends. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Now, the first myth is about Tesla trailing behind other automakers in terms of autonomy. As some of you know, Mercedes recently came out with a level 3 autonomy assist system. I think it's called Drive Pilot. And then Waymo and Cruise already achieved level 4 in certain cities. I've covered this a little bit in my previous video on busting the myth of FSD being commoditized soon. So if you're interested, go to that episode in my description and take a deeper look. But let us look at these different automaker systems one by one, right? First, with the Mercedes Drive Pilot, they're making a lot of noise about being able to do level 3. But if you look at the screen, on these conditions that needs to be achieved in order to use it, it is crazy. And if you actually look at the map, the coverage, where Mercedes can use this level 3 system, it is not even in multiple states. It's like in 1 or 2 states and only on a few highways. And there are videos online where when the system is actually engaged, the car actually just swerves back and forth across lines, which is feels extremely dangerous and is not really ready, to be honest. And yet they just can't wait to rush it out as a gimmick because nobody really will use it when it performs like that. So just because some automakers is able to technically achieve level 3 and got the authorities put a stamp on it that you can operate level 3 doesn't mean it actually works, as you can see in this case. There's no way anybody's going to use it and rely their life on it. And about Waymo and Cruise, I've covered this before. Basically, they're only level 4 in very specific geo-fenced cities. The relatively simple ones where the high definition mapping is completely available and they have run around the city hundreds and thousands of times to make sure they got every single corner of that city covered before they even allow to operate there. And when they do, they still make a lot of crazy mistakes. In San Francisco, you can see a lot of Waymo cars go into dead ends. Sometimes they just stop there and not moving. They got stuck. Sometimes they cause a traffic jam in intersections. So even though they say they achieve level 4, doesn't really work. And they probably jumped the gun there and only on very simple cities. So San Francisco is relatively simple, but it's still more complicated than some other cities that they have operating in, such as Phoenix or other states in Nevada could be very simple. So even though they have technically achieved level 4 in certain cities, the methodology is nowhere near complete to really make an impact, right? A lot of people still don't feel comfortable riding a Waymo in San Francisco because it could still get into situations. And not to mention, GM Cruise has had accidents that taken a setback. So nobody really is taking those rides that much. Although in certain areas they can be still pretty safe, but they're not scalable to other cities. So this myth is already busted. Now, what about Tesla's strategy? What's going on, right? You might wonder, why is Tesla only still level 2? Like, haven't they been working on FSD forever? Now, that's a good question. And the reason is that Tesla's strategy is they don't care about achieving level 3 because there's no point to say you achieve that. Because level 3 means that you can only drive hands-free under very limited conditions, right? So what's the point of having such a system, right? In this case, you can see Mercedes. They achieved that, so what? It's very limited and you don't know when you can use it, when you cannot. And when you actually use it, it's not really that great. So there's really no point to say who's ahead when they achieve level 3 or level 4 even, right? Like in Waymo's case, they have level 4, but does it really work well enough? maybe in a couple cities, but they can't really expand to across the state lines, highways, and like other slightly more complicated cities. So what's the point of, it's like the race between the hare and the turtle, right? The hare is leading, it's all fancy and stuff, but they have like lethal weaknesses. In this case, in the hare's case, he likes to be arrogant and likes to take a nap, and eventually the turtle wins. And in this case, Tesla might be the turtle. It feels that way, but this problem is actually way harder than people expect. Tesla is actually not just a hare, it might be a cheetah. Tesla actually runs really, really fast. Other companies simply underestimated the complexity of FSD. So Tesla will achieve level 4 or level 5 on one particular version. It will just achieve it. Right now, they are okay with being labeled as level 2. They don't want to take on all the legal responsibilities, right? Right now, Tesla still force the drivers to pay attention at all times, sometimes keep their hands on the wheel as well, so that they don't have to get all these public setbacks, bad public image that, oh, Tesla still cannot drive itself. No, Tesla just wants to label itself as an assistance software at the moment at level 2. Until that very moment when they finally succeed and achieve level 4, level 5, not just in a few geofence cities with high definition maps, but every single where in the United States, all the roads. So that is why Tesla right now is still at level 2. But a very good news that I have to say is that the latest version of 12.3.6 is already extremely good. When it hits 12.4, rumored to be this week, confirmed by Elon Musk, that it should come out this week. 12.4 version is really, really going to be good. They even remove the need to nudge the driver to put their hands on the wheel. So this 12.4 is supposedly, by definition, level 4. So we'll see about it. Stay in tune. I'll give an update as soon as we have 12.4, and I'll tell you my first-hand experience. Now, let's go to the second myth this week. It's about China, whether or not they will retaliate against Tesla because United States has imposed so much tariffs, not just on the raw materials of EV, of lithium and stuff, but they also increase the tariff on EVs themselves. So if China wants to export any EV into the United States, they have to go through a 4x from 25% to 100% tariff. That means that if their car can be sold for $25,000 in China, in United States they will have to be sold for $50,000 in order to make up for the money they have to pay the United States government. There's just no way to compete, right? Imagine that cheapest model has to cost $50,000 in United States. No one is gonna want that car. So that basically kills the competition from China into United States. As I actually have covered this point before in one of my previous episodes. So take a look in the description, the link in the description when you have a chance. So why would China not retaliate against Tesla, right? When USA does this to them, forcing their EVs not being able to be imported in the United States. That is because the short of it is that China and Tesla has a very good relationship, and Elon Musk, right? And not only is it like a sentimental relationship, it's actually a mutually beneficial win-win relationship. Now, let me go into this just a bit, right? Tesla actually have full vertical integration in its workflow, right? Especially in China, they use the local parts, they use the local labor, they use the local manufacturing, and all that really benefits the China local economies and the ecosystem industries around making cars as a Tesla. So this is not like a USA versus China thing, even from Beijing's perspective. Beijing wants Tesla to succeed because it will help their local economy, help their labor market, but also it would force the local Chinese EVs to be more competitive. Otherwise, Tesla is just gonna run away and take away everything, all the market share. But that forces BYD and other major players in China not to be complacent, right? They have to catch up. They have to try to do what Tesla could So this is another reason why they want Tesla to be in there in the first place. And it's not only is it a win-win economically, but also it forces the other companies to improve. And Chinese, in this sense, is very smart. They don't want to just be complacent and protect their turf, so to speak. They actually want competition because they're confident of their own abilities, their diligence, and the intelligence, right? So they're not worried about Tesla coming in and monopolizing the market forever. Now, finally, the reason why Elon Musk go into China and create factories and not worry about China will just kick them out when they finally maybe copy their technology, finally learn all the ropes on building EVs, because Elon is the smartest man. He already figured out that's not going to happen. They're not just going to throw Tesla away once like other local EV companies take off, like BYD. So we can just, this is not like a logical reasoning per se, but rather in belief in Elon Musk's long-term strategy and his intelligence, right? He's not going to do something so dumb. So I hope that busts that myth. And now the third myth is about the FSD subscription rate being too low. Like some news media has reported that it's only 2% take rate, meaning for every 50 people who try FSD, only one person has subscribed. But let us bust this myth, because it's certainly no way true. FSD 12.3.6 is very amazing. It would definitely be more than 2 people subscribing after 100 people try it, right? 2%. So first of all, the data collection methodology that this report has some problem, right? First of all, they are using credit card data. So credit card has a lot of security concerns, right? Exactly which subset of those population of those credit card owners is this data representing, right? Is it everyone who has a credit card, or is it only a certain type of credit card, or is it certain type of users who have a new credit card account recently? Is it the ones who actually didn't sign a waiver to expose their personal data? Like, none of that information is transparent. So we don't really know these credit card data, what do they represent? Who do they represent? And second of all, if you look at how many people actually surveyed, or how much data is there for the credit card data, there are only 3,500 people total as the denominator, right, for the take rate. Now, if you are aware of statistics, you will know that this is basically very hard to be statistically significant number. You only have 3,500 as the denominator. Like, the margin of error is too big for you to say the take rate is 2%. At the very minimum, you could say maybe 2% plus or minus 10% or something like that, because the margin of error is too big. And also, another reason why this is not accurate is that there's still actually a lot of Tesla users who do not have the eligibility to actually operate the latest version of FSD. So a lot of those users are still on the old version 11. Some of them hasn't even updated FSD, even though they may be prompted to try FSD. Do they actually, the credit card data, do they actually make sure they only include users who have not only downloaded but installed the latest version of the FSD? I'm not sure. I feel like this is just another one of those fake news, or better yet, maybe just misleading news, right? When you weave the lie into the truth, it makes the lie so much more believable, right? So actually, some counter evidence we see on Twitter. We know Twitter has maybe a little bit of a Tesla favorite bias. And from that poll, you actually see 44% adoption for everyone who's tried it. Just like a simple poll, yes or no, right? So 44% may be a little bit optimistic, but it's much closer to reality. I would not think 44% is more like half of the population, right? I would not think the take rate is that high, because it's not a small amount of money, $99 a month, but it should be, the bulls believe it should be around 20 to 30%, and that really makes sense, because if you try the software, you know how much headache that takes off of you. When you drive highway, you don't have to touch it almost at all. Like, I haven't really had to for couple years. Whenever I'm on highway, I use FSD or / autopilot. It takes care of exiting completely for me. It handles the lane changes for me, so. And then when you drive local these days, like, I barely have to intervene anymore. It's so convenient. It takes away the stress. So there will be adoption. A lot of people will be willing to dole out $99 a month for this. So there you have it. The 2% adoption rate makes absolutely zero sense, given the collection method, the sample bias, and we have counter evidence. So I think this third myth is so busted. Now, really, thank you for visiting this episode. Remember, there's no investment or financial advice in this. All of this is for entertainment purposes only. And please stick around for my next episode, and I will bust more myths. And every weekend I'll try to prepare a special in-depth episode, like I did last week, about why so many people hate Tesla. What are the reasons? I have carefully categorized them into 4 categories and go deep into the emotional reasons and logical reasons for each one of them. And thank you very much. If you are still here, you are awesome. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.